The twin moons of Elixia cast their iridescent glow over the royal palace, bathing its gleaming spires in hues of silver and green. Within the grandeur of the throne room, the bioluminescent walls pulsed faintly, reflecting the collective unease of the gathered council. Princess Zarella, the radiant jewel of Elixia, stood amidst the assembly, her heart pounding with an anxiety she struggled to hide. Her father, King Varellus, stood at the head of the room, his imposing figure framed by the luminescent tree of solace, a sacred symbol of Elysian unity and peace. His voice, resonant and commanding, cut through the tense silence. "The Council of Elders, and I have reached a decision," he began, his gaze resting on his daughter. "Elixia's survival depends upon a strategic alliance with Earth. To secure this bond, Princess Zarella shall be wed to Commander Jason Hawk." The words landed like a thunderclap. Zarella's mind reeled, her thoughts a whirlwind of disbelief. Earth? Humans? The species known for their relentless drive, their conquests, their ruthlessness? And Commander Jason Hawk, of all people, his name alone conjured images of warships and battlefields, his exploits whispered across the galaxy as tales of a merciless tactician. "Father," Zarella's voice trembled as she stepped forward, her bioluminescent gown shimmering with her rising emotions. "Why must it be me? Why must it be him? Are there no other paths to peace?" King Varellus's expression softened, but his resolve did not waver. "My daughter, I understand your fears. Humans are not like us. Their ways are different. But Jason Hawk is not merely a warrior. He is a leader, a man of honor. And this union will bring us the technology and protection we need to secure Elixia's future." Zarella searched his face, looking for a glimmer of doubt, a hint that this might not be set in stone. But all she found was the weight of his responsibility, the burden of a king making an impossible choice. Around her, the council murmured their agreement, their collective will pressing down on her like the gravity of a dying star. "Do I not have a choice?" she asked, her voice quieter now, laced with desperation. Varellus stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You are my daughter, but you are also a princess of Elixia. Sometimes, duty outweighs desire. The needs of our people must come before all else." Zarella turned her gaze away, her luminous eyes shimmering with unshed tears. She wanted to shout, to rebel, to run away to the tranquil crystal lakes and hide. But she knew her father's words were unyielding truths, woven into the fabric of her existence as royalty. Her duty was not hers to escape. As the council dissolved, leaving her alone in the echoing grandeur of the throne room, Zarella's thoughts churned. She imagined the human commander cold, calculating, his reputation forged in the fires of battle. How could she ever find common ground with someone so alien, so ruthless? Seeking solace, she retreated to her private chamber, a sanctuary of cascading light and gently flowing streams. The air was fragrant with Elysian moonflowers, their petals glowing faintly in the dim light. She knelt beside the window, her gaze drawn to the endless expanse of stars. Somewhere out there, Jason Hawk waited, his ship cutting through the void on a course that would intertwine their fates. Would he see her as just a pawn in a galactic chess game, another conquest to claim? Or was there more to the man behind the legend? Zarella's heart warred with her fears, the echoes of her father's words mingling with her own uncertainty. The stars, indifferent and eternal, offered no answers. As Zarella rose, determination flickered within her. If her path was set, she would meet it with the grace and strength expected of her. She would confront this human commander and look beyond the stories. Only then would she discover if this marriage was to be a sacrifice or the beginning of something. The air around the Elysian royal landing pad hummed with anticipation. Massive crowds gathered to witness the arrival of the human delegation, an event that promised to reshape their world's history. The ceremonial banners of Elixia, glowing in gentle shades of green and silver, rippled in the soft planetary breeze, their bioluminescent threads casting shifting patterns over the ground. Princess Zarella stood tall beside her father, King Varellus, on the elevated dais. Despite her composed demeanor, her heart was a tempest. Her gown, a masterpiece of Elysian artistry, shimmered in rhythmic pulses, reflecting her deep apprehension. Though she had agreed to this meeting, fear still gnawed at her resolve. The sky above rippled with the fiery contrail of a descending spacecraft. Unlike the organic, flowing designs of Elysian vessels, the human ship was stark and angular, its metallic surface gleaming like a weapon in the sunlight. It landed with a calculated precision, its thrusters whispering to silence as the dust settled. Zarella's hands tightened into fists at her sides as the ship's ramp hissed open, revealing Commander Jason Hawk. He stepped into the light, his presence immediately commanding attention. He was clad in an Earth Alliance uniform, its dark fabric tailored sharply to his tall, muscular frame. His face was rugged, his jawline strong, but his expression lacked the coldness Zarella had expected. His eyes, a piercing shade of blue, scanned the crowd before locking onto hers. For a moment, the world around her seemed to fade, and Zarella's breath caught. Jason descended the ramp with a steady, purposeful stride. The gathered Elixians murmured among themselves, the tension in the air palpable. As he reached the dais, Jason removed his gloves and tucked them into his belt, a gesture that seemed oddly disarming. "Your Majesty," he began, his voice firm yet respectful as he bowed slightly to King Varellus. "Princess Zarella." He turned to her, his gaze softening, though he did not smile. "It is an honor to stand before you." Zarella's throat tightened. She had prepared for aggression, arrogance, or indifference, but not this quiet dignity. She inclined her head, her voice steady despite her nerves. "Commander Hawk, welcome to Elixia. We trust your journey was safe." "It was," Jason replied, standing tall but not imposing. His eyes lingered on her, curiosity evident in his expression. "Your world is breathtaking." King Varellus gestured toward the lush gardens that bordered the landing pad. "We hope our traditions will feel welcoming to you, Commander. Today, we invite you to join us for a ceremonial tour, as is our custom for honored guests." Jason nodded. "It would be my privilege." The ceremonial walk began, with Zarella and Jason leading the way. The Elysian gardens were a marvel of alien beauty, towering plants with glowing leaves arched over crystalline streams that reflected the vibrant bioluminescent light. Delicate creatures flitted between the foliage, their translucent wings trailing tiny sparks. As they walked, Jason glanced around, his face betraying genuine awe. "I've traveled to dozens of planets, but I've never seen anything like this," he said, his voice low enough that only Zarella could hear. "You find it beautiful?" she asked, her curiosity breaking through her reserved tone. "Beautiful isn't a strong enough word," Jason admitted, his gaze meeting hers. "It's alive. Vibrant. So different from anything on Earth." His honesty caught Zarella off guard. She found herself studying him more closely. His reputation had painted him as a hardened warrior, a man driven by ambition and conquest. Yet here he stood, captivated by the simple elegance of Elixia's natural world. They paused at a glowing fountain where silver droplets seemed to hover in midair before falling gently into the pool below. Zarella gestured to it. "This fountain symbolizes balance and harmony, two principles at the core of our way of life." Jason leaned slightly forward, his eyes tracing the delicate interplay of light and water. "Balance," he mused, "something Earth could learn a lot about." His words carried a weight Zarella didn't expect, as if he spoke from a place of personal reflection. She couldn't resist asking, "Is that why you agreed to this alliance?" Jason hesitated, his gaze distant for a moment. "In part. Earth's survival depends on alliances like this. But also, I believe there's more to the galaxy than conflict." Elixia seems to embody that belief. Their conversation was interrupted as King Varellus approached, signaling the end of the tour. Jason straightened, his expression shifting back to the formal demeanor of a commander. As the ceremonial walk concluded, Zarella's thoughts swirled. Jason Hawke was not the man she had imagined, not the ruthless tactician or cold-hearted conqueror she had feared. He was complex, thoughtful, and perhaps even kind. For the first time since the marriage was decreed, Zarella felt a flicker of something unexpected: hope. Hope that perhaps this union could be more than political expedience. Perhaps Jason Hawke was not only a commander but a bridge between two worlds, a man with whom she could forge something new, something stronger than fear. The days following Commander Jason Hawke's arrival unfolded like a series of delicate negotiations, not just between the Elysian and Earth delegations, but between Jason and Princess Zarella themselves. Both carried the weight of their respective worlds on their shoulders, yet their conversations were increasingly personal, stepping cautiously beyond the bounds of formality. On one such evening, Zarella led Jason to the Celestial Arboretum, a sanctuary deep within the palace grounds. The Arboretum was an awe-inspiring place, home to ancient Elysian trees that glowed faintly in rhythm with the pulses of nearby stars. Each tree was tethered to the cosmos, their bioluminescent roots singing in harmony with celestial vibrations. Every tree here is a reflection of a specific star in the universe, Zarella explained, her voice soft and reverent. Our people believe they hold pieces of wisdom carried from the cosmos. It's where I come when I need clarity. Jason placed a hand on the rough bark of a tree. Its glow seemed to brighten at his touch, as though sensing his presence. He looked at Zarella, his face alight with wonder. We've always studied the stars, sought to understand them. But we've never thought of them as connected to life like this. Zarella smiled, surprised by his curiosity. Perhaps humans have a different way of connecting to the universe. Jason's expression turned thoughtful. On Earth, we've been so focused on surviving, on growing and conquering, that we've lost touch with things like this. Maybe that's why I've always felt restless. Like we're missing something. Zarella tilted her head, studying him. And do you think Elixia has what you're missing? Jason met her gaze, and for a moment, the weight of his military reputation seemed to fall away. Maybe. Or maybe it's just you, he said, his voice low but steady. Her heart fluttered at his words, but she quickly masked her surprise. Flattery doesn't suit a warrior of your reputation, Commander. Jason chuckled softly. I've been called many things, but a flatterer isn't one of them. What about you, Princess? What do you see in all this alliance, this arrangement? Zarella hesitated, her gaze shifting to the stars above. At first, I saw it as a cage. A duty imposed on me with no regard for what I wanted. But now... She paused, searching for the right words. Now, I think I see a path, one where our worlds might truly come together, if we are willing to understand each other. Jason nodded, his expression unreadable but attentive. Understanding each other, he repeated. It sounds simple, but for humans, it's the hardest thing to achieve. Over the following weeks, Jason and Zarella spent more time together, sharing their worlds in ways neither had expected. Zarella introduced Jason to Elysian rituals, like the calming meditation of the Crystal Lakes, where shimmering waters soothed even the most restless souls. Jason, in turn, taught her about Earth's ingenuity, sharing stories of resilience and progress that spoke to the strength of his people. One day, Jason invited Zarella to the Earth delegation ship. She hesitated at first, wary of the stark, mechanical environment she imagined, but her curiosity won out. When they entered the control room, Jason showed her the holographic star maps used in Earth's navigation systems. Our technology may not glow like Elixia's, Jason admitted, but it has its own kind of beauty. He activated a projection of the Milky Way galaxy, its billions of stars glittering in the air around them. Zarella stepped forward, entranced. She reached out to touch one of the stars, her hand passing through the light. It's breathtaking, she whispered. Jason stood beside her, his voice soft. It's also fragile. That's something I've learned the hard way. Every alliance, every partnership hits like a star. It needs balance to keep burning. Their bond deepened with each shared story, each revelation of vulnerability. Zarella saw past the stoic facade of a commander and glimpsed the man beneath, a man burdened by duty but driven by hope. Jason, in turn, saw Zarella's strength, her unwavering commitment to her people, and her capacity for compassion. One evening, as they walked through the gardens, Jason turned to Zarella. "When I first came here, I thought this was just another mission, another alliance to secure resources. But now—" He paused, his voice faltering. "Now I see this as a chance to change something, maybe even myself." Zarella stopped, her luminous eyes meeting his. "And what do you want to change, Jason?" He smiled faintly. "I want to prove that I'm more than what people think I am. That humans are more than just conquerors." Zarella's heart swelled at his words. She reached out, her hand brushing his arm. "You've already begun proving that." As they stood beneath Elixia's twin moons, the divide between their worlds seemed less vast. What had started as a political arrangement was becoming something deeper, a bond forged in mutual respect and the shared hope that their union could bring not just peace, but understanding to two very different civilizations. The day of the wedding dawned with a spectacular display of Elixia's twin suns rising over the horizon, casting golden and violet rays across the lush bioluminescent fields. The capital was alive with celebration. Elysian citizens adorned themselves in glowing ceremonial garments, their joy radiating like the living flora that surrounded them. The atmosphere was electric, filled with hope and cautious optimism. For Princess Zarella, the morning brought a whirlwind of preparations. In her chambers, attendants wove strands of starlight like threads into her hair, symbolizing the cosmic bond the marriage represented. Her gown, a masterpiece of Elysian craftsmanship, shimmered with the soft colors of her emotions, an intricate interplay of nervousness, determination, and, she realized with some surprise, a hint of excitement. In the mirror, she caught a glimpse of herself and paused. Gone was the terrified young woman dreading a union with a man she had only known by reputation. In her place stood a princess prepared to embrace her future, a leader ready to stand as a bridge between two worlds. Across the palace, Commander Jason Hawk was being prepared in his own way. His Earth Alliance uniform had been tailored with Elysian embellishments, the dark fabric now interwoven with threads that glowed faintly, signifying unity. Jason wasn't one for ceremony, but today, he felt the weight of it all, the expectations of Earth, the hopes of Elixia, and the growing connection he felt towards Zarella. As he fastened the ceremonial medallion around his neck, a symbol of the Alliance, Jason took a deep breath. He thought back to the moment he first stepped off his ship and saw her, standing tall and regal despite her obvious apprehension. Now, weeks later, she was more than just a figure of duty. She was someone he admired, someone he trusted, someone who made him believe that peace was not just possible but worth fighting for. The wedding took place in the Celestial Amphitheater, an open-air venue surrounded by ancient trees that pulsed softly in resonance with the Elysian sky. The canopy above seemed to shimmer with the approval of the cosmos, and the air was filled with the delicate harmonies of Elysian song beasts, their ethereal voices blending into an otherworldly melody. As Zarella walked down the aisle, her bioluminescent gown casting ripples of light, the crowd fell silent. Her gaze met Jason's, and she was struck by the quiet strength in his expression. He stood at the altar, tall and steady, his uniform glowing subtly with Elysian and Earth emblems intertwined. In that moment, Zarella felt a sense of calm wash over her. This wasn't just a political union, it was a partnership. Jason's breath caught as she approached. In the weeks they had spent together, he had seen Zarella's strength, her wisdom, and her unwavering devotion to her people. But now, she looked every bit the ethereal princess of a world that had already begun to feel like home. The ceremony began with an exchange of symbols. Zarella offered Jason a shard of a starstone, a rare Elysian gem that pulsed with the energy of their planet. "This represents our connection," she said, her voice steady yet warm. "A piece of elixir to carry with you, always." Jason took the gem reverently, feeling its warmth in his palm. In return, he handed her a silver locket inscribed with the Earth Alliance crest. "And this represents our bond to Earth," he said. "A reminder that, together, we are stronger." The priestess of Elixir raised her hands, invoking the ancient blessing of unity. The words, spoken in a lyrical Elysian tongue, were incomprehensible to Jason, but the meaning was clear. As the final syllables resonated, a wave of energy radiated from the altar, casting a shimmering glow over the crowd. It was the universe's silent approval, a sign that this union was destined to change the stars. As the ceremony ended, the amphitheater erupted in celebration. Elections and humans alike shared in the joyous moment, their differences momentarily forgotten in the face of this historic event. Jason and Zarella stood side by side, their hands brushing briefly before Zarella intertwined her fingers with his. It was a small gesture, but it spoke volumes. Later that evening, beneath Elixir's twin moons, Jason and Zarella stole a quiet moment away from the festivities. They stood on a balcony overlooking the glowing forests, the hum of the celebration distant yet comforting. "I never thought I'd feel this," Zarella admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Hope, not just for our worlds, but for us." Jason turned to her, his expression soft. "Neither did I. But here we are." For a moment, they simply stood together, their differences fading under the light of the stars. The galaxy that had once seemed so vast and divided now felt a little closer, a little more united. "Do you think we can really make this work?" Zarella asked, her voice tinged with vulnerability. Jason smiled, his hand brushing hers. "If we can bridge the gap between Earth and Elixir, I think we can handle anything." As they gazed out into the cosmos, they knew their journey was just beginning. Their union, born of necessity and fear, had transformed into something neither had expected, a bond of trust, respect, and the possibility of love. Together, they would navigate the challenges ahead, not as strangers from distant worlds, but as partners bound by a shared vision for a brighter future. Above them, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if bearing witness to the dawn of a new era, where two hearts and two worlds beat as one.